This meeting is being recorded.
There it is. Now it's definitely recorded. Good morning, everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Come on in. You should be able to unmute yourself. If you could mute yourself when you're not talking, that would be great because it'll keep the background noise down. But I can always hit the big button for folks if I need to. And I've got a few co-hosts just help me out with letting people in so everybody doesn't just keep seeing this when I'm talking, because that's probably like a 3D movie like Jaws. Remember that one? So this is our mastermind. This is the first Monday of the 13 Mondays. The last one is July 31st. And we've got 13 weeks of this Monday rhythm of a mastermind that's going to lead into the business overview this evening, and then the getting started training right after the business overview. So we're kind of locked and loaded. This is it. And I believe that 13 weeks from now, we're going to look back, and I'm going to watch this video, and I'm going to enjoy thinking about how early in the process it was, how naive we were about things. Like there's some stuff that's going to go wrong or need to get changed. I know all of that. I just don't know what it is, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to result in a lot more growth. As a matter of fact, I didn't have a chance to pull the numbers. I'm going to do an audio drop and update the numbers here today, but it's really interesting to see just how many exposures are being reported in the marketplace, and that folks that were, and I've had these conversations, that folks that were just like, all of a sudden it's in the front of their mind, not to report the exposures, but to do them. And so I think that's fantastic. We've already broken through the number one thing we wanted to do, which was get the conversation about doing exposures on a daily basis in front of everybody so that we can execute on that. So let's see. So I've got a few things I want to talk about. I'm going to open it up to everybody. And the first thing is, you don't have to volunteer here. And actually, this isn't the best way to do it. But if you're willing to do a testimonial this evening, and what we're looking for is people that know how to do it, because I don't have a class. I can't teach a class on this, but a lot of you have done testimonials, a 2 or 3 minute version of your story that we can put into the business overview. And if you could help me out by just reaching out to me directly so that I can get a list of who I can count on. What happens is, it's almost at the very end of the presentation. It's when I talk about Performance Club. So there'll be a slide about Performance Club. I'll talk about the trips. I'll talk about the money. And that's when I'll step in and bring the testimonials in. And you can talk about trips you've been on. You can talk about bonuses you've earned. You can talk about why you got started, but just be whoever's going to do it. I just want you to bring that energy and passion, because the vast majority of the audience is going to be brand new associates, just seeing what all the excitement's about. And then, of course, guests, prospects, people that are looking at the business. They've probably seen a video. They've probably seen a couple of videos. They've probably been through a process of getting some information, but now they're getting the whole story front to back. And then we're going to encourage them, of course, to sign up with their sponsor, and then come right back in for 5 minutes later for a getting started training, which will take us, that'll be from 9 p.m. Eastern to about 9:35, 9:40 will be the business briefing and the sign up process. And then we'll do 20 minutes of getting started. And for those of you that are wondering, you might be thinking like, what's the getting started training? It's super simple. I'm really just going to show people how to access first step. I'm going to tell some more about my story. I'm going to make sure that people understand what tools they have to get started. So it's basically a conversation with someone that just signed up. And obviously that's being heard by other associates. So they're just getting reaffirmation about the simplicity of the business, right? Because as we go through this 13 weeks, we're going to gather momentum of people that have been in the business 1 week and they're coming back to hear it the second time. People that have been in the business 2 weeks and they're coming back and they're hearing it the third time. You see what I mean? So we're going to keep reinforcing to this group that it is simple, that we have the tools, that we don't have to complicate it or build new things for it. We don't have to procrastinate or put it off. And that's really going to be the message of getting started. It's going to be about getting started. I think it'll also be a great opportunity for those of you who need an environment in a virtual setting where you can just see who's with you. Because sometimes we recruit somebody, the first week of the month, and by the third week of the month, we can't get a hold of them on the phone. But if we have this environment where we have something to drive people into every week, we can see if they're still plugging in, because you can see the participants right down the side of the page there. So I think all of that will be helpful for us. And so that's testimonial. So get out and just reach out to me during the day today and we'll get that worked out. I'm also looking for somebody to introduce me so that it's not just me, because it's a little awkward and cold to come in like that. Now I can do it, done it a million times, but it's more professional and more formal if someone else welcomes all of the folks, spends a minute talking about just, keeping your line muted or whatever you want to say, a little bit of housekeeping for 30 seconds, and then turns it over to the speaker. That's ideal. So I would love to have somebody volunteer to do that as well. While I've got you here, there's a few things that I want to talk about just generally, because again, this is our mastermind for the leaders, and I'm going to stop talking. I want to hear from everybody. But one thing I want to talk about this coming Wednesday, the circle up, the all hands meeting. I just want to remind all of this group that this is the leaders. This is the mastermind. By the way, you could be a brand new associate, and if you see that this is where you want to be, this is where you should be. We're going to talk about, frankly, about how to lead an organization, about how to earn a six-figure income, about how to become a Millionaire Club member in this business, in this environment. So this is where we can talk to each other about those things. We can talk about the 10 core commitments. We can talk about power training. That's what we're going to talk about. But on Wednesdays, we're talking to all of those new associates. And we're specifically generally focusing our conversation on what new associates should be doing. So championing the 2 exposures a day, commending the people that or have made their first sale or made their first couple of sales or got fast start qualified, and then shining a spotlight on all of those folks. So Wednesday, again, we're speaking to all associates, but especially the new associates. I want to make sure that's clear. And promoting 2 a day, let me just say that again. You guys, the folks that are reporting your exposures, you're doing great. And some of you I know, because you're experts and you do this as a career and this is what you do full time. And the exposures that you're reporting are large numbers. And I want you to report accurate numbers. And I love that they're large numbers. That's not a problem. But what you report and what you promote to brand new people that are coming in this business part-time, spare time, in stolen moments of time, that's why we've got to talk about 2 exposures a day. Because 2 exposures a day allows everybody to see themselves winning in the business. And if we can get new people engaged in a cadence of 2 exposures a day, I promise you, some of them will increase that. They'll get the taste of success that comes from the 2 a day, and it will propel them to do more. Just like all of you that are doing more, that's why you're doing it. But as Jeff Olson teaches us so eloquently in that power training, we have to get people enough information to get started, enough inspiration to get started, enough motivation and direction to get started, and we can work on the other stuff in time. Now, let's see, I want to make sure I don't miss anything. I just thought I'm going to talk about this, and I hope that you can hear this as positive instead of negative, but you're a leadership group. And by the way, every time I say something like this, 6 people text me and say, I know you were talking about me. I'm not talking about anybody. I've been doing this for 20 years. And in whatever form of modern communication we've had over those 20 years, from emails to social media to text and whatever it is, this always happens. And it's a situation where leaders are promoting something. Like they're promoting a Super Saturday event. They're promoting a weekly briefing event. They're promoting a Zoom like tonight, like Monday night. And then what'll happen is people with the best of intentions, people that their hearts are full of love, they use their left and their right turn indicator in traffic all the time. They're good people. And they do this thing that's not helpful. And what they do is they comment below why they can't be there. And I know why. Because you want to be responsible. But I want you to just think 3D on that. Just go at one more level and say to yourself, what did I just do? I didn't just let Jim know a very valid reason why I can't be there. What I did was I gave everybody else an excuse to not be there. So we know there's stuff that not everybody can come to. We know there's more stuff than anybody should come to. But when we're promoting things, the only thing that's helpful is positive. If you're going to be there, great. If you're excited about who the speaker is, awesome. But be positive. If you're going to comment, we love the comments. Be positive. And then if you can't be there, we'll miss you. But just don't mention it in the comments. Is that cool with everybody? Did I do that in a way that was helpful and respectful? Because it's a thing. It's just a slight edge thing that happens sometimes. And we know that we mean well when we're doing this, but that's just something that happens. So I thought I'd start by going around the horn. If anybody here had a super Saturday that's with us live, I know some of you are watching a replay, so you can just shout at your screen if you're watching the replay, but we won't be able to hear you. If anybody had a super Saturday this past weekend and could share some of their thoughts about that experience, I'm not sure who did, or if anybody had that. Our market has it early in the month. Mr. Barry Fisher, I see you unmuting. Did you have a super Saturday?
Well, I didn't have a super Saturday initially for a guest to arrive, but I had a super Saturday as far as prospecting and getting out and doing presentations. So I had a great day that day, great day Saturday. I did 4 presentations, and today I was working on closing those 4 individuals.
Fantastic. So Barry made a super Saturday out of his Saturday. Good work, dude. Thank you. Yvette, are you here with us? I'm looking at a lot of faces on screen. Yvette Eldridge is a brand new executive director. We celebrated her on the event on Saturday here in New England, and she did a great job. Not only did she tell her story, but she also helped me with the training, which was super helpful. So I appreciate that. Yvette, we'd love to hear your thoughts. We had Chip Humphrey in town. You can tell everybody about it.
Yeah, so just so you know, Jim put me on the spot. So. But it's all good. No, actually, it was a great super Saturday. Chip Humphrey came in and I had never heard him. I thought he was very approachable. We had, I guess, about 20 people in the room. I thought that it flowed really nicely. I had some great takeaways. I mean, he really demonstrated how you just need to stick and stay and be patient and allow yourself to grow in this business professionally, personally. And he did actually share how he showed some numbers on how he was doing his thing, and then he fell off and then came back again. I don't know if I'm explaining that right, Jim, but what that did for me was made me feel normal. It made me feel like, okay, you know, I made this executive director thing today, and a lot of it had to do with relationship building, and it all just fell into place. And so now I'm putting the pressure on myself, and while I'm still doing my thing and I'm working hard, I also realize that this is a relationship business, and it is real. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. And I've been working with trying to build those relationships in a variety of networking groups, and I'm just going to continue to do that. But I also realized that I need to start recruiting professionals on a different level, because those are the people that I really want to work with. Those are the ones that are self-starters. Those are the ones that are motivators. Those are the ones that, you know, mostly may get commission, that are commission driven. Those that understand commission, that's a no-brainer. But you can actually show people, you know, if they're self-starters, they're motivated, they're articulate, they're willing to put the work in and the effort. You know, and even if they're not, if you're willing to put the work in, I'm willing to work with you. So it's, yeah, it was really great information to validate where I am and where I want to go. But also the other thing I want to stress is, you know, and Jim is a prime example of this. I'm not in his team, and he's helping me. And I spend hours helping other people that are not on my team. And I'm a strong believer that as small business owners, if we rise together, we're stronger together, and we should really be helping each other out. And so that's my takeaway.
Yvette, thank you so much. That's so great. It was great having you there too. And I did put you on the spot, but you rose to the occasion. And I shared with her at the event that once your executive director, Chris Corley's knows this, we don't prepare you anymore. We just point to you and you just got to get up and go, right?
Oh, good Lord.
Let's see, Connie, you have your hand up. Go ahead. You're muted.
I'm gonna pull into my driveway. I'm driving. I just got back from a one-to-one from networking. I just want to say the Super Saturdays are amazing. I'm glad they're back in person. Here in New England, it was a drive. But for me, what Super Saturdays do, well, here's a big takeaway. We didn't have enough people in the room. We did not have enough associates and guests, and I know there are so many more in that area. And we need to be better at promoting and bringing our associates. If that means picking them up, put them in the car, whatever we need to do. But I love Mr. Humphrey. For me, I love the after. So some people couldn't stay. I love the after socially. That's where the stories and the testimonies, you really get to dig deep with the leaders. So it was just hearing some of his stories that he's grown throughout the years and what's happened in his business. So I need to do better. I need to bring associates. I need to bring guests. Even if I have to kidnap them, they're coming. So we need to grow New England. So they're as big as the Charlotte events. That's what my goal is, for our New England events to look like what they're doing in Charlotte, and filling the rooms.
That's great. And rooms are getting filled up in those bigger markets. Yvette, did you want to add something to that?
I just wanted to second what Connie was saying. New England is a we're weird up here, and I say that kindly. And so it's hard to get them to trust you to bring them to, but I agree with Connie. We need to start promoting New Hampshire and Massachusetts and Vermont and Maine, and we need to be putting us on the map.
I totally agree. Thank you. And so if feel free to jump in, do that hand raise thing that Connie figured out how to do, or just unmute yourself if you'd like to add some other thoughts about Super Saturday. But I'll pivot that and say, for all the Super Saturdays that were not this past week, and there were certainly some, then there's a whole bunch more coming up this Saturday. They tend to be the first and the second Saturday of the month. That's been the routine. It's not engraved in stone. It's not the plan, but that's what's been happening. And I'll be in Hartford, Connecticut this weekend. So if you want to send your Hartford folks out to me, just let me know who to look for. Your associates, your guests, their guests. I'll be there to take care of them. I'm going to do a 90-minute Q&A on Friday evening. And then I'm going to follow that with, I'll be at the Super Saturday speaking. I'll do the presentation on Saturday, the business overview to kick us off. And then I'll come back and I'll do about an hour on using the 10 core commitments to drive growth in your business, to build a business that doesn't really need you anymore and that continues to create income for you on a daily basis. So I'd love to get that in front of you, your guests, your associates, their guests, everybody that you can. Send them to me. For us, I'll open it up. I know there's other leaders that have the responsibility in the local market that are running meetings, or some of you are just heading to a Super Saturday and maybe you'd like to share where you're going to be on Saturday this week.
I'll be with you, Jim. I'll see you in Connecticut on Saturday. Super excited about that because I have quite a few friends in Connecticut that I haven't been able to see in quite a while. So this will give me a chance to be able to see them as well.
Fantastic. Good. So now you know you've got me and Holly. So she'll be there to work the room with me, make sure that we take care of everybody in Hartford, Connecticut. And Hartford's going to be a big event this Saturday. I'll just say this while I'm thinking of it, because this is the event before the June event in Hartford, Connecticut, which is going to be featuring Mr. Darnell Self. So the tickets will go on sale for that event. At this event, the best ticket price and the best tickets and the best seats in the house will go to the people in that room. And we want to make sure that if you're in the area, of course, we want you to bring your folks, but I wish for you to have an international business, and Hartford is a great place to have a growing team because they got great support and great meetings there as well. And it's near New York City. It's a big population center as well. Who else? Anybody else have a Super Saturday coming up this weekend that they'd like to let us know about? Going once. All right, so now I'd like to talk about, and this is for everybody that's already started on one of your commitments to the 90-day run, which is using for your 15 minutes of audio or more daily of core commitment number one, your personal development commitment, to listen to Jeff Olson's power training. And some of you have reported back to me that you've been through the whole thing. Some of you have listened to a whole bunch of it. Some of you are just getting started. But I would love to hear some thoughts. And I understand that, like, what happens is the crosstalk thing. Just unmute yourself. That's a great way to show everybody that you want to turn. And so just go ahead and unmute yourself. And I'd love for you to share your thoughts about what is resonating with you specifically from hearing Jeff Olson from nearly 2 decades ago talk about the stuff that we should be doing right now. Go ahead.
Well, Jim, I'll go. I have been listening to that as I work. So I'm getting more than 15 minutes a day in. And I love that. I love that it's simple. You know, it's just simple. He's talking about relationships. He's talking about all this, the stuff that works, the stuff that don't work. And you can, it's where you can really implement it. You can see where you can implement it and things that maybe you're doing that isn't working, instead of getting frustrated and just throwing in the towel, you know, when you want to. He's showing you how to back up and look at it and see it in a different light. And I've gotten a lot out of it. I've gotten in about an hour and a half so far, but it's really awesome, you know, because sometimes you're sitting here working and that's all in your subconscious and you're constantly thinking about it. You know, you're like, wow, that makes sense. I never thought about it like that. So, but I really enjoyed that because I love simplicity. I don't like hard when it seems complicated, you know, but he doesn't make it complicated.
Fantastic. I'm glad you're plugging in. Who else would like to share takeaways from power training?
Hey everybody, great morning. I'm just going to share right quick, and I apologize if you hear some talking chatter in the background. Just don't worry about it. So I'm not even sure how many times I'm on with listening to the power training. I had to pick my daughter up last Friday and drive to Gunnison, and the drive was very long. It's normally a 4-hour drive one way, but it turned into a 5-hour drive. And then anyway, but I listened to it I think twice during that drive. And then I've also just kind of been listening to it, snippets of it, I think I would say kind of every day. And it's so ironic, but the power training, I could swear it is deja vu that I've actually listened to the power training, you know, maybe a few times in maybe my pre-existing life, I'm not sure. But there are parts of that power training that is just like, you know, it's a little scary because it's already stuff that I have been doing and implementing already, but it was already things that were already going on in my head. So it's really cool. It's really powerful. But the part that I wanted to express and to share with everyone was that I believe that I already manifested it. The power training in general, I already manifested this mastermind group that we're doing right now, that I actually manifested the entire situation of what I'm personally going through right now, which is, you know, sharing with you guys, being with you guys, being in the group together, and everything else. And the reason that I say that is because just very recently, I was going through some really bad turmoil. And I had to snap out of that and get back into the focus of where Sonora was going and to do what Sonora needed to do with her business. And basically what that means is to stop all of the distractions from distracting me and get back on point to what it was and the direction that I was going, staying consistent, being focused, being determined, and shooting for all of those things that Sonora wants and all of those dreams, and not letting all of the distractions that's going on. And distractions can be, you know, people that you love dearly. It could be family members. It could be friends. It could be the business. It could be prospects. It could be a lot of different things. And again, I describe that all as in distractions, because you have got to get focused in what it is that you need. Tammy actually mentioned a little bit this morning about, you know, you got to stay focused, you got to stay consistent. And, you know, I'm wholeheartedly right there with her. You've heard Jim, you've heard John. I mean, you've heard so many people say that you've got to do what you've got to do to be where you want to be. If you need to drop some things, if you need to stop doing things, if you need to let some people go, you know, that's what you got to do to get to where it is that you want to, where you want to be. You've got to be made uncomfortable. And just do it. Stop thinking so much about it and just put in the actions and doing it. I share that with you because I've been doing so many different things lately, everything from market leader to doing presentations to talking with huger businesses and all of that other stuff. I'm in the process right now working on the group. And you know, just doing it. I'm not thinking so much about it or how to do it perfectly, or you know, not necessarily dotting the T's and I's, which it is important to dot in the T's and I's and know the process of different group submissions and stuff like that, so that you don't tell your business owner the wrong dates. But that's a whole nother story. But you just have to do it. You have to jump into it and, you know, take a chance by faith, or, you know, whatever it is that you want to call that. Just take a chance, stop running your mouth so much, and just do it. You have got to do this business in order to do this business. So we've heard that so many times. But again, I just wanted to share with everyone, and also to keep you encouraged to continue on the path. Keep doing those 2 per day exposures. You may not see the results at this particular moment, but I promise you, you are going to see results if you continue to stay constant and focused, and just do it. So back to you, Jim, and thanks for allowing me to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Sonora. I appreciate that. And James Paris, I see you unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to share a couple things from the training. I know last Wednesday I shared a couple things, but there was a few of them that I didn't. And the first one is that when he was saying the learn, the activity, learn, activity, learn, activity, learn, activity, and then model, then teach. And that one stuck out to me, only because it's easy to get stuck, especially with Legal Shield, to get stuck in that cycle of constantly learning, because there is so much. You know, you can say that, you know, you start learning and you're just like, oh, you know what, you know, maybe doing groups is good. And then so you start going down that rabbit hole and you learn that. And then, you know, CDLP, and you go down that one. And then, you know, you're just like, oh, you know what, maybe doing selling the small business plans to the businesses themselves. And so there is so much, and we can't forget the doing, the activity. It's not just the learning. And I know myself personally, I've gotten stuck in that where it's, you know, it's like, I like to learn. And there's another book that I've read recently. It's the Compound Effect. It's our book of the month that we have for Success Team. And in there, Daring Harding, he mentions that if the learning was where the money was at, then the professors would be the millionaires. And so when he said that line, it made me think about it. It's just because, you know, there's people that they'll go to school and then they get out in the real world. They don't want to do the do. And so they'll go back to school. And so that one stuck out to me too. And then the other thing about the power training is when he talks about the franchises. I can certainly speak to that because I was a franchisee of Hungry Howie's. I had 3 pizza franchises for a little over 5 years. And the ratio that he said, you know, about 20%. So the first one, you know, I think I bought it for about, it was $110,000, and it was spitting off about $20,000 in cash, you know, a year. And so that's not something that we do with Legal Shield, because it's a time investment instead of a money investment. And so it's the opposite of when you're a business owner like that, you know, you can go buy a franchise and get about, you know, 20% return on your money, and, you know, wait 5 years and have that asset paid off. But with the compound effect, the geometric progression that you can do with network marketing and with Legal Shield, when you have an amazing product that, you know, if you think about it, I think Mark mentioned in the training, or in his training this morning on the call, he said we've got there's about close to 5 million people that are protected, you know, and it's about little over 3 million families. And so when you think about 100 million families in America, that's less than 3% market penetration. So that means that there's 97% of American families that don't have this or don't know about it. And that's huge. Like, that's just, you know, it's like the, you know, the iceberg pictures that you see, you know, you just see the tip of the iceberg. You don't see everything else below the water. That's what's exposed. That's what we can still have access to. That 97% of American families have no idea what Legal Shield is, or how they can be protected by ID Shield as well. And so there's just so much potential, and it's that exposure that we need to do. But it's the learn, activity, and then model and teach that. So, and Jim, thank you so much for being that prime example of all that, especially with this 90-day run. I really do appreciate it. So, and with that, I'll give it back over to you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Yvette, did you have your hand up?
Yes, sorry. You know, I was actually Well, I was listening to what James said, and I'm not so sure where I heard this, but I know there's statistics out there that says if a company's starting and they start to get just 2% of the market penetration, that's like their goal, because they know once they hit that, it will just take off. And if you think about it, that's where we are right now, positioned with Legal Shield. We're a little less than 3%, and we're ready to take off. And technology and COVID really has done Legal Shield wonders. So it's good to be where we are right now, positioned where we are, so that we can be a part of this big, growing, beautiful company. So, and I don't know if that made any sense, but I know I had heard that somewhere.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think Connie asked, where's the website with the power training on it? I just put the link in the chat for you, Connie, as well. Anybody else like to talk about power training? Anything you've gotten from that? I know not everybody started it, and it's not a homework assignment situation. Venus Powers, go ahead.
I listened to it yesterday, and I still have a little bit of it left to go, but I absolutely love it. I mean, he is so real about how, you know, it doesn't matter if you have a PhD or, you know, you just, you know, decided to put on, you know, dress shoes instead of Birkenstocks. All you have to do is speak the language that someone else has shown you and do the activity. If you don't do the activity, it doesn't matter how much education you've got, how savvy you are, how good you are, you know, what a great salesperson you are. You're not going to be successful. It's just, you just have to do it. That's the biggest thing. And then when he was talking about, everyone wants to come in and reinvent the wheel. And I know that new people get tired of us saying, follow the system. Well, the system's been proven. In his moment of that taping was 30 years. And that now his moment it's 50 years. And, you know, it's still the same system. It's still the same process. And it's worked, because look at the number of ring earners we have. Look at the number of Millionaire Club members we have. Look at the number of people who either depend on this as a part-time income or their full-time income. And, you know, people want to come in, oh, I'm going to do this great big advertising on LinkedIn, or, you know, where can I get an ad format for my Facebook page? And it's like, you don't have to do that way. You know, if you go and look at some of our leaders' Facebook pages and see how they share the information, you know, Tammy Martin is fantastic at it. If you look at her Facebook page, she has very, you know, clear promotions on her page that she does a couple times a week, you know, and it's just clear on how it's done, and it's pulled from content that was already created. She doesn't reinvent the content, because once you start changing the content, then the messaging changes. And this isn't from his training, but I've done sales trainings for a long time. I'll tell you, I mean, 32 years. So, you know, I've been in those sales trainings for 32 years. And one of the trainings is that you whisper, and you know, you get in a circle of 20 people and you whisper something in someone's ear, and the next person whispers it. And by the time it gets back around to the 30th person, it is not anything that you whispered in that first person's ear, because it's changed through the whole, you know, they've reworded it, right, to say it the way they want to say it. And that's the thing, is that if we use the tools that we've been given, we use the system that's in place that works, and we, you know, talk less and use a tool, use a resource, use another person or third party. That's where and I'm so guilty of working in a silo. I do, because sometimes, you know, you're afraid to let go of your new person and let someone else have their ear, right? Because you're afraid, I don't know, sometimes I will tell you, you're afraid sometimes that maybe your new person will not think you're as smart as you think you are, just being transparent. And then sometimes you're afraid, what if that other person tells them something that scares them, you know? And you have to find the people that you trust in your organization that's going to be that person, that tool, you know, or you have to make sure that you've listened to the resource that you're going to share with them. Never send out a video that you've not listened to yourself. Never do that. And so, and never put someone on someone's training that you've never heard them train. That's really scary, you know, because, you know, there are people in this company, they're amazing, they're great, but sometimes their story isn't relative to the person that you're putting in front of them. And so, you know, he just talked about how using common sense and, you know, being practical about it. You don't have to be fancy, just be yourself, because if you try to be someone else, then you're going to fail. And so, you know, I can't wait. I have like 45 more minutes left of it, and I plan to do that after we get off this call. I know you're only supposed to do 15 minutes a day, but I can't stop listening to something once I start listening to it. And so I hope that's what you were talking about when you said the power training. You meant by Jeff Olson, right? Okay.
Yes,
but I mean, he's, you know, and I love that he told about how many times Harlan Stonecipher failed, you know, I mean, you have to fail to succeed. And if you succeed without failure, your crash is going to be hard. I'm just saying it's hard, but, you know, that's the one thing, you know, is, you know, make sure you know what you're sending out, make sure you know the person that you're putting in front of your people, make sure that you're doing the activity, and don't try to reinvent it, and don't be fancy. Just do it the best way you know and how you have been taught already. That's what I got from it.
Thank you very much, Venus. I appreciate that. And it continues to be, well, I'll speak to this idea of what he calls spaced repetition, but it continues to be the gold standard training. And again, like I was talking to Don Thompson about this. I said, Don, I don't know when the last time you listened to it was, but you got to listen to it, because you'll see two things will come up completely clear. Number one, what works hasn't changed. Number two, we've forgotten how to do what works. There's so few of us following that. Now that's a testament to our business model too. I don't want to get too far off track, but listen to this. We can do this business without honoring the 10 core commitments, without honoring what works and what's worked for decades, and still make money. But what happens is we get 2/3 of the full promise of our business. We get, number one, linear income. We sell a membership and we get paid for it. That'll work with or without the 10 core commitments, works with or without power training. We get that. Then we also get residual income. If we write good business, that stays on the books. So we get linear income, we get money up front, we get residual income. Both of those things will happen without any of what we're really talking about right now. But if you want the big business, if you want everything that this business promises, then you have to do not just what works for you, but what will duplicate for the masses. And that's the lessons of power training. Chris Corley, I know that you've been a student of this business since the day the ink dried on that application you signed. Any thoughts that you'd like to add to the group?
Yeah, I thank you so much, Jim, for getting this together and doing this. You know, you and I have a lot of conversations, and I just have to say, you know, I appreciate you so very much. You know, and I was thinking back to when I got started, and you were a big part. And I'm not just saying this to make you feel great, but you know, you were a big part of this new guy that was just full of really a lot of desperation. And I was kind of like what Venus Powers is talking about. You know, I had that PhD, but I was unemployed and broke and confused and just in a real, but what, you know, what I had belief in that I could have the lifestyle of the leaders. You know, I believed that you know, if I took the direction from you and the leaders, that one day I could have your lifestyle. And I was on a training recently by one of the other leaders in the company, and he talked about that really, what we call that belief, really can be attributed to a philosophy. And, you know, and I didn't really believe that I actually had a philosophy when I got started. But what I believe is that that my philosophy was that this business and this vehicle and this system could get me to the lifestyle of Jim Tanner and Mark Riches. And what they did is that shaped my attitude about all of the negative things and the distractions early on that Sonora was talking about. So when I had, my wife coming to me and saying, I'm out here working 2 jobs or working 2 shifts, and you're out there wasting $100 and some, almost $200 on some membership and an agreement, that was one of the worst, most selfish things that you can ever do. What I found was, my philosophy and my belief in what you guys were telling me really would get me through a lot of the no's and the naysayers and the negativity that I was being pummeled with, and I was being hit on a daily basis. But if Jim, if you didn't sell me on the dream and give me that philosophy, well, my attitude wouldn't really be that positive, and my activities would have suffered. And then I would have gotten no results. And then I would have had nothing that I could show to anybody, myself or my family, that this business could work. So that was really huge for me. Now, and when I go back, and so I've had dips in my career, and I'm kind of rebuilding a lot of things from a lot of mistakes that I made a year or so ago in my recruiting style. So I'm having to kind of start over and rebuild, which I do not want to do to this degree again. But what's really propelling me forward again, kind of like when I got started almost 6 years ago, is my philosophy that even today, Jim, this vehicle and the things that you're talking about, which is the foundation of this business, of what made it great initially and what's kept it great, was the 10 core commitments and the things that you are re-bringing to life, that this is what gave me the initial philosophy when I first got started, which gave me such a great attitude about getting started and working this business, which propelled the activity on the daily commitments of the 10 core commitments. Because when I stopped doing that, and yes, I did stop doing it, when I stopped doing it, it's because my attitude got poor. And I'm not blaming anybody or myself. I don't want people to think this is a beat up, I'm beating up on myself, but it's just the truth. When my attitude got poor, my activity suffered. But it's because I forgot the philosophy. I mean, some people can say it's your why, but I think it's even deeper. It's really my philosophy that I believe that this vehicle with this system and the 10 core commitments, and you as being a major part of the leadership, that this was the vehicle, this could get me out of the muck and mire that I found myself in when I first, invested to come into this business. So whenever my attitude or my productivity suffers, I always have to go back to what is my attitude. And usually I can look in the mirror and say, well, your attitude is really starting to suffer. Are you forgetting the philosophy of why you got started in this business to begin with? Because everybody that has the lifestyle that I so enjoy, including you, Mr. Tanner, and many others, the lifestyle that I really want and desire for myself, it all starts with your philosophy. So you have such a great philosophy, not only about life, but about this business, about the core tenets of the business. I would venture to say that's what gives you such a great attitude, regardless of what happens externally in your life or even externally in this business. It may be difficult at times, but you keep a positive attitude. And that's why you can always stay active in doing the great activity, and you get great results. You're always executive director qualifying. You're already bringing on and getting new people. And that is why your lifestyle continues to be rich and great. So what I've got to worry about is my philosophy and making sure that my attitude stays positive, connected to my philosophy, and then I'll be okay with the activities. So anyway, thank you for having me jump on, sir. Turn it back
Thank
over.
you, Chris. Thank you. I appreciate it. And those were kind words, and I appreciate them all. And I hear it and I receive it. Thank you. So as we get to the top of the hour, I just want to give you a few thoughts. So I had asked initially this group to talk about, and we kind of really just didn't get to it, best practices for getting folks to the meeting. But as I listened to the leaders in this group talk about everything else we discussed today, I have great confidence that you have all of the best practices already to get folks plugged into this meeting this evening. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about my vision for the 13 weeks. I'm going to talk about this for less than 5 minutes, then we're going to get back to our work of the day and the work of our business. One of the greatest challenges I felt personally, that I've seen other people feel, that I've watched stop people from building their business in my business, which would grow my business. The number one thing that stops people is their reluctance to enter into a process that they don't understand. They don't want to feel silly. I mean, we're adults, right? We get in this business as adults. As adults, we've gotten good at some things. We tend to stay in the world of those things we're good at. We are celebrated for those things. Some of us not celebrated, but at least we know we're good at these things. And so we want to do these things that we are good at. And all of a sudden we're in this world where we don't know anything about anything, and it freezes us. And this was me, and I've seen it happen again and again and again. And so when you have a complicated process, people like a complicated process because in the complexity they can hide. So if we had for brand new people, a 5-hour training on, like for example, if we just entered our new people right into group sales, they would love the idea of that because it's complex and it's nuanced and there's a lot to learn and there's scripts and all this other stuff. And they would love the idea of that, and they would never sell anything, never sign up anybody, never excel in their business. That'd be typical of most people. Now, what we have instead is something incredibly simple, and we have to defend the simplicity. And the simplicity is so precious and so fragile and so easily destroyed that we have to promote it and we have to protect it. And so as we get through a 7-day cycle of this, I think you're going to see, for some of you, you're saying, Jim, this is what I've been doing. I'm just glad that I get to do it with other people. But for some of us, we're talking about this because we've tried everything except the simplest way to do it. Or we started out doing it simply, had great success, started to add our own ideas and ideology. We started to add our own personality and complexity, and we got far away from what got us started in the first place. Oftentimes, even people that are having success, you see someone get the $100,000 ring and then not the $200,000 ring. Why? Because somewhere around there, they started reading their own headlines and started developing ideas to teach their team that were not the true ideas that got them to where they were. Many of us have been guilty of that. I certainly have. But the path forward is the path of simplicity. The path to the top is the path of simplicity. I promise you it is. Because everybody I've met that's lasted the longest, that's grown the fastest, that's continued to put up consistent positive numbers, both in recruiting and premium growth and the retention of all of that business. The old timers, the pioneers, the folks that figured out how to do it and not do it different, who had all of these crash and burns and rebuilds in a time the land is already forgotten, long before any of our eyes could witness it, have stopped doing all that other fancy stuff and stuck to the system. And so here it is. We have this incredible once-a-week opportunity to drive everybody to a complete briefing. That's going to be people who've seen videos. That's going to be people who've seen a bunch of stuff and didn't get started yet. It's going to be people who've seen nothing and they're seeing it for the first time. It's going to be people who've already joined the business and they're not where they want to be, but they're going to get this once-a-week live event energy that's going to remind them, if they've already joined, what they joined in the first place and why they were excited. And for the rest, it's going to reveal to them a path forward that they didn't even know existed. We're going to teach them how to get started. We're going to teach them that it's simple. We're going to honor and protect that simplicity. We're going to champion them on Wednesday, the people that are keeping it simple, doing their exposures. We're going to celebrate their work and we're going to cheer them on. And by the time we get through a week of 2 exposures or more every day, people using Prospect, people using their websites, And as we get through a week of them, showing people the business and signing them up, showing people the business and following up and getting them through, people are going to start to have growth. And you know what's so interesting about our business? In less than 60 seconds, let me just button it up with this. The activity that you need to know to get from associate to senior associate is the same activity you need to know how to do to get from senior associate to manager. It's the same activity you need to know to build a team of managers so that you can get to senior manager and director. It's the same activity that you get those people to do that makes you a senior director and an executive director. It's the same exact thing that you build into the culture of that same thing you did to get from associate to senior associate is what makes you a platinum executive director. There isn't a different thing at every level. It's just a matter of getting more people to commit to the simplicity, more people to take action on what works, more people to develop personally and grow their vision. And that leads to everything else that is available to us in the business. Now, I said 1205. I'll just say one thing I said at the Super Saturday. I have been incredibly fortunate to go on trips all around the world, to earn incredible incomes, to pick up bonus money, big bonus money dollars. Even I was sharing this at the Super Saturday, $30,000 in a trip to Iceland for being platinum executive director for a year. But the reason that that happens for me and for everybody else is because we've already set in motion something that will capture those dollars, those bonuses, and those accomplishments before they're announced. The time when they announce the next trip is not the time to start doing this. I don't know when they're going to announce it. They haven't announced it yet. I don't know where it is. Nobody told me, but we're going to put you in motion and your team in motion so that when the next trip is announced, you just gobble it up by the machine of simplicity that you've created. The next bonus that comes out for builder's bonus or whatever it is, you're just going to swallow it up because of the machine you've created. Fast start bonuses, manager matching bonuses, executive leadership bonuses, you're just going to grab them all because of what you've created. You're not going to have to respond to the next announcement. You're not going to have to pivot and gear up for the next thing. You're already going to be there because of what you've chosen to do starting today. Thanks so everybody for joining me. Let's get out there and get to work. I'll see you at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern for the big event.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim.